Welcome back to episode 20 of MVP Podcast.
0.
Big deal, 2-0. Who's our guest this week?
Penny. Penny from Looking Forward Interior Design and Home Staging.
She is the problem solver for me, which is exciting why she's on here. I didn't actually know that she was in Southeast Wisconsin when she got on the show, which is super exciting. But she does interior design, and she focuses mainly on investors. So her niche was not really the agent listing side. It was working hand in hand with investors. So she kind of talks about her process and why she chose that niche, which is, I mean, really paying off. And I see exactly why she did, and she went the direction she did, which is smart.
Yeah.
And she talks about how and why she helps investors in the way that she does, which is super exciting to hear from my background. But also for those of you who are looking to get into investing and don't think that you have that designer touch, like she is your answer for that.
And
so
she and I are going to get along just fine because we were geeking out over colors and how to teach everybody in our listening area about how to use colors and color schemes. So she's going to come back on another show and tell us all about colors and how she's going to help Marcus stage his home.
Exactly. So to not make the intro any longer, let's bring Penny on and let's get on to the show. Hope you enjoy it.
Well, today I am a home stager. I am an interior designer, but it wasn't really my passion in school to do all of the architectural stuff, to learn all of the ins and outs of how a building is built and stuff necessarily, but I really loved doing the finishing end of projects, especially group projects where, you know, one of us is doing the CAD and one of us was, drawing up the plans and figuring out how many outlets went into a bedroom and stuff like that. Whereas I was the one that was always worried about if the outlets were perfectly placed so that they were on either side of the bed so that a nightstand could be there with lamps, you know. And if in the living room there really was room for a big TV screen, you know, or whether every wall had too many doors in it, wasn't the proper placement for the sofas and stuff. But before I went to school for interior design, I've been an artist or a business owner my entire adult life. So it just was the next thing I was doing, you know. If we go all the way back to, you know, like when I was a kid or whatever, I was the kid that was remodeling my bedroom constantly and remodeling Barbie's house, you know, tearing out her walls and changing her furniture around and stuff. So I think it was just a natural fit for me.
Yeah, you were bred for interior design then.
I know, you are talking to my soul right now. Like, if I could be doing anything, I would be doing it what you are doing too. But I love making things look pretty for all of my realtors. So
where she makes things look pretty in houses, you make things look pretty online in
yes,
paper.
Exactly.
There's some synergy there.
My mom was big into remodeling homes, just basically for her pleasure, but she would like buy up a home and remodel it, and then she would sell it a few years down the road after she was finished living in it for the small period of time that she would enjoy living in it. But so I understand where you're coming from.
She was totally a pioneer flipper, man.
Yes.
She was doing it before that was even the cool thing to do, right?
Exactly.
And I will say, like, I love having interior design people on the show or talking to them because I am the complete opposite. I'm worried about like how structurally this is going to work and floor plan, but that is about it. If you ask me about color scheme and texture and contrast, I'm like, I got nothing.
But on your latest flip or remodel, your color scheme was beautiful so far.
I appreciate that because I did not do that.
Who did?
My investor was like, I want to pick out the colors. So I was like, perfect.
Good
Take
girl.
it and run.
Yeah.
No, so that if you go onto our Instagram, you'll see like our recent flip of we're on the garage right now, and we did a Nordic blue vinyl siding with some white trim, and then we have a cedar garage door. I did not pick a single color. I just made sure that the rough openings were where the rough openings had to be, and the roof wasn't going to fall in. So that's where I kind of go. So people like interior design, architects, all of that, I love them because they pick up slack where I'm lacking big time.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it comes with with experience. Like, I don't know how many years. I don't know if you mentioned it before. How many years have you been doing interior design other than moving around your room as a kid? Because I love doing that too.
Right, Barbies when I was a kid. That was a while ago. I've had my interior design or my staging business. I really focus on staging, and that's been for the last just over 2 years, 2 years and a quarter so far. And I really focus on vacant properties. So I know some stagers are out there, they're working with realtors and they're telling them, oh, your homeowners need to declutter and stuff like that. That's one aspect of staging, but my business really focuses on vacant stages.
Now,
so
vacant properties,
my flippers, I work for a lot of flippers.
On your vacant properties, do you do virtual staging or do you actually move furniture into the house?
I am actually on team anti-virtual stage.
That is fine. Just a question.
And there's definitely two camps out there of if virtual staging is a good thing or a bad thing. While I love the technology is really cool. I got into some of that technology in school because we had to.
Right.
You know, while the technology is very cool, I think it's dishonest in a way because it might make pictures look good online for that initial viewing by a prospective buyer, but when they get there to see the house, there's just an inevitable letdown.
Right. I can see that.
And so I'd rather do it right. I just feel like filling the house with furniture so that the experience is real when they arrive is worth the extra cost and the extra effort.
Got it.
The only time, like, because I love software. Software is awesome. You know, that's a lot of fun to play with that stuff. But the only time I would really say that virtual staging would be an asset to a staging business would be to use it in showing a prospective client what you will be able to do with their home once you bring in the tangible items.
Right. So more behind the scenes showing what you're able to do, and then you put it into practice with the actual staging of that listing. Or,
right.
I gotcha.
Right.
In what
market?
I would use. Oh, sorry. I know you talked about you work with vacant homes. What market do you usually work within? Like
geographical market?
Yeah. Because I didn't catch where you were from, and I apologize about that.
That's okay. I am in southeast Wisconsin, so most of my staging is done in like the Milwaukee, Kenosha, Racine, some of Lake County in Illinois, a little bit out into the western counties, but pretty much in that southeast Wisconsin area.
It's so funny when you say Lake County because we live in Lake Country here in Wisconsin. So it's like, wait. Oh, wait. Okay, I get what you're talking about now.
And what is also exciting is I'm going to have a vacant property here soon. We're doing a flip, that one that we have posted on our social media. That's going to be going up, and that'll be vacant. So we'll have to talk offline about some home staging for that one.
Yeah.
Because that is right up your wheelhouse.
Yeah. And then we can post all those pictures on our Facebook and Instagram. Right. And look, mutually beneficial marketing.
That'd be awesome. I'd be happy.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll definitely talk about that one. So when you go out and I'm guessing you work more with agents than homeowners.
I don't typically work with homeowners much as like not owner occupied homeowners.
Okay.
And not really with real estate agents very much either. A little bit, but not much. Out of the last 60 properties that I've staged, probably 58 of them were owned by a real estate investor.
Okay.
So they're buying a house, you know, at a price, and then they have a renovation budget, and they've come to the understanding that staging is part of completing the renovation. And, you know, if they're spending $40,000 to renovate a property and make everything look brand new and, you know, make everything look perfect, they want to complete that project by having the lipstick and the mascara, you know, put on their beautiful project as well. You know, it's having an empty property is one thing, but having one that's well dressed and shows off the property for its value is so much more valuable.
Well, yeah, because your house can sell for so much quicker too, and for a better price tag. Because if you like zhuzh it up, I mean, who wouldn't want to pay a little bit extra?
We're gonna have to throw the definition of zhuzh into the show notes so that our listeners know what the definition of that is, because that's a new one for me. I love vocabulary, but that's a new one. So I know the struggles of trying to complete I never like having, even on my rentals, when tenants come in and walk through a space and it's barren, it doesn't look homey. It doesn't give the feel of, hey, come live in this. It's going to be great.
Right.
So I never like that. And I experience that when I am on the agent side and I go into a vacant home, when I'm going through my own units and they're vacant. So when you go in to these investors, when you talk to them and say, hey, we're going to stage your home, can you walk us through kind of your step-by-step process of how you figure out, hey, this is kind of what's best for you, or this is where it's going to alleviate the struggles for you? Kind of what's your mindset and when I'm going to use your kind of words where you dress up a home.
You didn't like my word.
I didn't use zhuzh. I need to know the definition first.
Well, let's see. What are we asking me when I walk into a house? How do I decide how I'm filling the...
Yeah, what's your thought process on how you dress it up, I guess?
Right. I take every house very personally. You know, I know there are some stagers out there that they keep their inventory very grayish. You know, everything is very monotone colors and stuff like that. Styles are pretty across the board the same, but every house has a different personality, and some houses need different colors to spice them up a little bit and make them more interesting to people. Some houses need contemporary furniture, which is great, but some houses, traditional or mid-century modern is still required. So each one's completely different. I get teased by some of the flippers that I work for using blue a lot, but I do use other colors. I tease them for using gray all the time.
Right.
So.
And do you feel like the neighborhood also plays into like how you stage a home?
But I'm sorry, the neighborhood? Did you say?
Yes.
For sure. You know, if it's I staged the house up in River West, Milwaukee. Part of River West is is an artistic community. It's a younger, like 20 to 30.
Sure.
You know, they want to see something different than a house that's in a well-established neighborhood where the buyers are going to be a little bit older, you know, more professional. So all of that has to come into play, just like it does when you're putting together the listing and the verbiage that you use in the listing. So definitely each one's individual.
Got it.
Which writing a description of a house is just difficult.
I can't. That's another reason why I couldn't be a realtor. I was like, there's no way I could write a description of this house. I don't know. It doesn't speak to me.
And I wanted to ask that because obviously with you going the route of actual physical staging, that comes with a lot of manpower to move things. It comes with inventory. Is that something that you have a warehouse that you hold all of that? Because that's a
lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Or do you work with a company, or actually you work by yourself, or you're?
No. Yeah, I decided early on that I wanted to own all of my inventory, so that I had control over that. In Southeast Wisconsin, we don't have a ton of options for like renting furniture anyway.
Right.
So I decided really early on, like within the first couple of houses, that I just wanted to own all of my inventory.
Smart.
So I have what I affectionately refer to as my flair house instead of a warehouse, the flair house.
I like that.
And I have about 12 houses worth of furniture in it.
Holy
So
guacamole.
do the math with me. I own at least a dozen sofas. I own at least a dozen dining room sets. I own at least, like 48 bedroom sets if you're doing, again, doing the math. We start getting down to pillows, the number gets really up there,
Oh my goodness, I love that.
I gotta have like something like 300 throw pillows.
Wow.
That's
you could have
awesome.
a massive pillow fight with those then.
Right? For sure. Come on over.
Yeah.
We could have fun.
My 9-year-old or my 8-year-old, he'll be 9 here in a month. He would love that.
Yeah, so it's a good time, and it took time to build that, and it of course took money and stuff like that. But I think it's the best way to go to have all my own inventory and canvases. I have a canvas problem. I do own hundreds of canvases. So
I love it. I'm actually looking at a picture in my dining room right here, and I'm like, it's in a frame right now, but it needs to be put on a canvas stretcher. So I get it.
yeah. So
Not a bad
lots
problem.
of inventory.
Yeah. And when you go into different properties, do you hire a moving company, or are you staffing it all yourself as well?
I can carry everything myself other than half a sofa,
Yeah.
So I do hire. I have a couple of kids, right? I have a couple of 20-somethings that an hour here, an hour there, come and work for me.
Yeah.
And it's worked out really well. I have a short list of about 5 names that I can call and say, hey, Tuesday we need to go and stage such and such house, and Thursday we're gonna go and de-stage the other house.
Right.
So it works out.
So here's my very important question, because you see this all the time in like all the home staging TV shows. Now, do you really work late into the night to get everything ready? Because they always seem to be burning like the last little bit of the candle to like get everything done on time.
For sure. I'm the last one in before the photographer, right?
Yeah.
So there's a running joke about how everything will be ready in 2 weeks. It'll be ready in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have that done 2 weeks tops.
Yep.
And then like they'll call me and they'll say, Penny, we need you to stage the house on Tuesday so that we can do pictures on Thursday. And I'll get there on Tuesday, and they're still not quite ready, but my deadline never really moved.
Oh God.
So for sure, I am there at night, or I'm there early in the morning, or I'm there telling the last minute GC to hurry up and get that plumbing done or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun. It's always a good time. You have to be super flexible.
Sure. Do you have any like horror stories from your home staging that you could share?
Which
Horror
one?
stories are just the way you look at things. It's always a good time. There's certainly been times where, I got to a house and it wasn't quite clean yet, or maybe they were still putting trim, or maybe I, brushed past some wet paint on a door frame or something, but it's all good. It's all good. Life is what you make of it.
Life happens.
For sure.
Yeah. That's funny.
I'm just thinking about those last days when there's still sawdust like on the new floors, and you haven't given it a fresh mop, and the trim that's like the evil last thing is trim.
I hate trim.
Yeah.
Looking around my house and I hate it.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine to be in your shoes, because I know they're not happy, because they're like, we want to be out of here too.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, I can't do anything until
Right.
you're done.
Right.
Ooh.
Right. I don't have too much trouble. Honestly, we're all working towards the same, end, and that's to get the house dressed, get it looking beautiful, get it sold, and get on with the next project.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. And it sounds like you have pretty good creative freedom with the investors that you work with. So you can go in and say, this is where I feel like we should go with this one.
Yeah, I mean, given the choice between working with a different homeowner on every single project versus establishing a relationship with an investor who's going to do like maybe 10 projects a year, and they just know how you operate. They know what to expect. They know that they can call me and say, hey, we're ready with whatever. You know, early on when I was seeing, you know, some other stagers that were saying, oh, well, we're constantly trying to find realtors that will refer us to their customers. Their customers are only, you know, once or twice in a lifetime, you know, that a home seller is selling their home. So there's not really an opportunity for a long-term relationship there.
Right.
So I've been very lucky in the last 2 years to have worked for the same core group of about a dozen flippers.
That's awesome.
And they can tell my work. They're like, oh, Penny did your house. What? You know?
Now, do you require a house to be of a certain price range, or would you go in and do any price range of house if somebody called you up tomorrow and asked?
Sure. I have done houses that were listed for 100, 110, 120,000. And later this month, I'll be staging a house in Illinois for 650,000.
Nice.
So everywhere in between those things, I would say mostly in the last 2 years, the average price point has probably been around 200,000.
Okay.
So maybe them $100,000 houses out there, maybe they don't really have it in their budget to have a house staged. But that's not really the price point of what's getting flipped these days either.
And
so
if you did come into a house and they wanted to use their own furniture for staging, is that something that you'd say, okay, yeah, I can definitely do that? Or I'm not sure, I'd rather bring in my own supplies?
I will answer that by saying I have worked around some suggested left behind pieces, but honestly, I really prefer to completely bring in all the inventory, because then it's a complete design. It's a complete package.
Got it.
I'm not trying to match some strange salmon colored chair. You know what I mean? It's a complete design. So
Understood.
the other side of what's that?
Oh, sorry. I said I gathered we like blue, but we do not like salmon.
That would be correct.
I'm okay with salmon, but I prefer that there was, you know, some continuity in the house. You know, one color that was,
There has to be complementary colors, Marcus. We'll get out the color wheel, and I'll show you how you get complementary colors.
I do need to learn that. So maybe you two can put me through that educational workbook.
That's a whole different podcast.
I know. Oh my gosh, it would be such a fun podcast to go through. I went to school for photography and graphic design, so we could do this together. It could be fun.
Yeah, for sure. I'd be all over that.
Love it.
You two run with colors.
The quickest way to an interior designer's heart is to give her a free fan deck.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
So with you're focusing a lot on colors and obviously materials, furniture, and all that. So with these investors, do you come in when they're drywalling, or when you can kind of see the walls and say, hey, I think paint colors, we should go here, and trim, we should go here? So do you get to suggest those things, or do you kind of work in their finishings with your decor? Does that make sense?
I'm actually super excited that you asked me that, because the other aspect of my business is to, give a consultation. Like, I would rather they brought me in way ahead of time, right after acquisition, and they were like, here's the bones of the house, here's what we're thinking, and then I can offer suggestions at that time. I walked into a house, and they were showing me the master bedroom, and thankfully it was still just studs. And I stood there going, where do you expect me to put the bed?
Oh boy.
And they're like, what are you talking about? This room is plenty big for a bed. And I said, sure, if I put it right in the middle. But there was no wall. Of the 4 walls in the room, none of them had a continuous 6 feet on which to anchor a bed, you know?
Yeah.
One had the closet door, one had the bathroom door, one had, you know, and I'm like, you got to move one of these doorways or else I can't put a bed physically in this room.
Move a doorway or a window or something.
Oh, man. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, they were remodeling a house and making a master bedroom out of, you know, 2 previous bedrooms, right? And they thought they were making a big bedroom, and that was great, but there wasn't any, like, non-interrupted 6 feet of wall on which to put the headboard. So I really love it, actually, when my flippers call me in ahead of time at the beginning of a project and ask for suggestions like, we want to remodel the kitchen and we want to make it bigger. Where's the refrigerator going to go? You know, how does this translate once I put a dining room table in here? Or where should the light be? Should it be in the center of the room? Should it be centered over the open space where the table would be? So it's easier to get in there at the beginning and start thinking about furniture ahead of time so that you know where it's going to end up.
Call Penny to save the day, I think, is the lesson that we just learned right there.
Well, you know.
You know.
Being modest. But I mean, I know that there is not every time that I catch those things, so I will speak to how honest as an investor, I don't think about where the chandelier is going to hang over the dining room table or where the fridge is going to sit. Sometimes I've got so many other things and so many other steps that I'm thinking of that to be that narrow focused on like where the outlets are going to sit, where the bed's going to sit. I don't know if I've ever, you mentioned that early in the show. I don't know if I've ever thought about that.
Oh, Marcus.
I'm just being honest. This is a show of honesty.
Okay. Well, we can improve upon this then.
So I can understand where your services would be super beneficial to an investor who's going through the floor plan stage, and looking ahead of those things in a more of like a narrow focused way to do it. So
a lot of older homes, when we're modeling older homes too, like really older homes didn't have big television.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I don't stage televisions. That's not, you know, but I do stage really large canvases.
Sure.
So that people get the idea but every once in a while I'll run across a living room that was not part of the thinking process at all. And, you know, because there's doorways, windows, you know, other design features, but there isn't anywhere to set a TV unless you're planning to put it in front of one of the architectural details of the house.
Sure.
So, and then, you know, that's what makes empty houses harder to sell, too, because they're like, they come in there and they stand there and they go, I don't understand. What is this room? Is this a living room? Is this a dining room? So staging goes a long way to identify homes for their purpose and give people a visual for how they're going to use that house.
So I do want to say one thing, though, because it made me kind of giggle inside, because my husband always notices that there are never TVs in any staged house. And he's like, what is up with this, Natasha? Why isn't there a TV there? There should be a TV there, not artwork. What is going on here? So I'm very happy that you explained that. So thank you. Now I can go back to him and say, well, this is where a TV could go, but it doesn't need to be there for visually showing somebody.
Right.
Love it.
That's lived in. That's reality. We're selling the dream.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
And who needs TV anyway? I do. I'm not gonna
No, like I don't like TVs in the bedrooms or
We
in
don't
like
have
the
one.
family room. So when I was looking at this flip that we're doing, the master bedroom, someone asked like, okay, well, where are they going to mount their TV? And I was like, TVs don't go in the bedroom. They're like, they don't go in your room, but they
Right.
go in a lot of people's rooms.
Yeah.
So we got to figure out where TV's going. And against what I want, I'm like, yeah, we got to figure that out.
Probably be smart.
So those do come up, and I know that they're conversations that need to be had. So, yeah.
Just make it so you can't see the wires. That's all I ask.
Exactly. Little
First,
mountain
yeah,
outlet up there.
definitely. Can't see wires.
It
Right.
just drives me absolutely like because you can see a couple of the wires in where our TV is, and it drives me insane. I might have to get my electrician to come back out and put a box in for me.
Yeah.
The first world problems, I tell you.
And when you're going through, like, all right, we're gonna go this way. This is the direction it's gonna go. Here's the color. Here's the furniture. What is your lead time, or how quick? I know you, in that one example, you said 2 days. What's usually your timeline to get everything in? How long can it stay? And then how soon can you get that out? Like, how quick is your operation streamlined at this point after doing it for a couple of years?
Yeah, that's a great question. I typically like to know about a week ahead of time of a project coming up. There is a lot of planning on my end, just because I take each house really personally. If it was as simple as, yep, we're just taking that sofa, that whatever. But they're very personal projects for me. So I like to know about a week before somebody expects me to stage a house. And I also like to have 2 full days. Obviously, I can stage a house in just in one day. But I really prefer to basically visit the house at least 3 times. Once to go there just to see it and start the planning process. And then one day for bringing in the big stuff and setting everything up. And then I like to be able to come back the next day with any finishing touches, the lemons on the counters and the orchid in the bathroom, all those little things that you don't really know you need until you've been there so you set it all up.
I love it.
I've done it faster. I've been under pressure to get them done faster, for sure. The house that I'm going to stage in Illinois, starting next week, it's probably going to take a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Just because the amount of square footage of the house, the amount of detail that's necessary for a $650,000 house. It's definitely not cookie cutter.
For sure.
So
I'm thinking about how you have to pick out each sofa and each side chair and each throw pillow and each bed covering and each piece of art, and my head is actually, I think it's starting to spin on its axis a little bit. I'm like, holy cow. I thought it would be so cool to do this, but then I think about it, I'm like, this has to be so overwhelming. Oh, there must be.
I'm having the time of my life.
Oh, so. That's amazing. I would crumble under the pressure, I think.
I just think it's impressive 2 days to get in.
Yeah.
And we just moved in, and we're on month 3, and we're not set up yet. We still have loose ends to tie up, and not all the decor is up, and pictures aren't hung. And that's months in.
Yeah, but you're bringing in the TV and stuff. I don't have to do that.
Yeah, that's true.
True that.
I'll blame it on clothes and getting all that organized.
There you go.
Because do you
Right.
stage
the closets?
The closets and the cabinets in the
No.
kitchen? Okay. I wasn't sure to what extent
No.
you guys go with, or.
No, there's no point in staging closets. Really. I staged a house recently that had a very elaborate, walk-through closet situation in the master suite. And, I went ahead and it had maybe a dozen shelves on it. And, I went ahead and put 3 things on 3 different shelves.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly just because otherwise it looked awkwardly barren.
Yeah.
But they're really just accents. They're not, I'm not really putting books on bookshelves or pantry items in a pantry at all.
Okay. Good to know. Not being wasteful. We like that.
Yeah, but I mean, if it was like, think about this, Natasha. If it was like a really awesome closet in a master suite that, you know, was clearly designed for a woman with tons of high heels and stuff like that, it would be too fun to put a pair of nice high heels in there and a nice coat purse. And do you know what I mean? Like, just stuff that's just kind of cheeky, like, oh, of course this is what it's for.
Right, right.
You know, kind of like putting a couple of wine glasses in the wine rack. Yeah, obviously we know what it's for, but...
But we want to think about having a glass of wine while we're sitting in our brand new house.
Right, exactly.
I love it.
So that's fun. That's character, so...
Yeah.
I do, like, we talked about TVs and stuff like that, and, like, I would never stage, like, a Pioneer stereo, you know, a regular stereo receiver or something in a house. That's silly. Right. But I do have, like, an antique little turntable situation that I will put in, like, a rec room.
Yeah. I love that. I love the old school little trinkets that you can throw in there.
Right. Or, like, one of the old-fashioned, like, typewriters on a desk in a very, maybe, masculine office. But I wouldn't throw a laptop on the desk.
Right. Right. You just want to give the idea of what's behind the room, but not, like, overtly in your face.
Right.
Got it.
Right.
Yeah, I think being able to paint the picture for that next buyer is huge because, I mean, it has happened all too often. And I'll speak on the agent side where people go in and it is a vacant home and they're not quite getting where their stuff's going to go or how the room's supposed to flow. And for people that are in real estate for investing purposes or people like you that are in the staging, it kind of comes easy because our system is kind of made to pick up on those things. But for the people that only buy, like you said, once or twice a lifetime, it's hard to recreate.
Or who just are not naturally like creative or in the creative mindset. I mean, for Jane Doe and her partner, like, it's not easy for somebody to walk into an empty house and be like, oh, I can totally see my couch there and the master bedroom, the bedroom or the bed's gonna go there and we'll have a little settee in front of it. Like, they don't
the HGTV effect.
Yeah, right.
That's what I'll call it.
The HGTV effect.
And that's a skill that you learn over time.
HGTV has changed the way everyone thinks about everything. So,
has it been beneficial for you though?
I love HGTV. I just mean that, like, everybody thinks they're you know, an interior designer. They can you know, rip out all their cabinets and do it themselves, and it'll be done 3 days later, and it'll be amazing. And the truth is, projects, you know, if you're flipping houses, you know, it takes a long time to get some of that stuff done. So,
wait, so you're telling
2
me
weeks,
that I'm
though.
not
That's all I ever hear. It'll be 2 weeks.
I thought I was a designer, though. You're telling me I'm not. Oh.
I just think it's funny because people are always like, yeah, we're just going to remodel the kitchen. And I'm like, you saw it on HGTV and it was a half-hour show. You don't realize, like, how many delays they had in that project or problems they had where they had to go backwards. And
we did our kitchen in, like, pieces. Like, one year we did the left side of our kitchen. The following year that we did the right side. Oh, and then we did the flooring, like, halfway between there. So it was like this pieced together kitchen, but now it looks pretty.
Right.
Cool.
And you get to make it so much quicker and so much more seamless with you getting involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you see yourself getting into, or are you happy, content with just working with investors? Do you see yourself getting into the agent side where you have I'm an agent and I personally know I have a vacant home coming up listed in Waukesha. Is that something that you'd be a one-off situation where you're interested in taking on, or is that something where no, I'm directed, I'm focused, this is where my niche is, that's where I love to be?
I'm definitely focused, and I enjoy the niche that I have found, but I do work with realtors. Like I said, I do enjoy working with them when they bring me vacant properties that, you know, need to be staged. before they list them or whatever. I have done consultations with homeowners, where I go in and I say, we really should have you pack up, your collections and get those ready for the move. And maybe you might want to repaint the walls, and maybe you might want to this and you might want to that. It just doesn't happen to be the niche that I fell into.
Yeah.
But realtors call me all the time. They want help with talking to their homeowners that maybe they've got a relationship with, and they have already said you need to put the cat box, in the closet.
Yeah.
You need the, they've already said those things. They've already suggested maybe repainting the house. They've already suggested moving the furniture, around so that it looks more inviting. And they just want somebody to back them up that can come in and say things in a different way and then they can leave, because the realtor's got to stay with them through the whole process. And if they hurt their feelings saying that's a really ugly sofa from 1972,
I have a question.
I just get to leave after that.
Would you ever allow a property to be sold fully furnished? Like if you put your furnishings in there, would that ever come into consideration for you?
Sure. As a designer, it's a wonderful compliment if the buyer says, "Oh my goodness, we just love the way you did this living room. We just love this dining room set that you put in here. We totally want to buy it, and I will totally put a price tag on that and sell that to them."
Awesome. Good to know.
Yeah, I think I've had 3 occasions in the last couple of years that, they went ahead and wanted to purchase some of the staging that was in there. I do work on some custom pieces of furniture and some other things, and so those things are always for sale, and it's fun when people want to make offers on those.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
I could totally see the joy of that, where you're like, I nailed that room.
Yeah.
And then you get the ultimate.
There's validation in that.
Yeah, the ultimate compliment of like, I nailed it so well that they don't even want to move it.
Yeah.
Like it's all just staying.
Well, I mean, and part of the thing is too, like, I don't really want to move furniture. So if it's already there and I can buy it, okay.
Right. And I know, especially in Oconomowoc, there has been new construction going up like crazy.
Left, right, and
Waukesha as
center.
well. New construction. Are you able, or have you been able to crack into that market of like those bigger mass builders where they just have brand new homes? Or is there, I don't even know how they operate. So this is a very open-ended question again.
I haven't attempted to market to new builds. I've been pretty busy with the flippers that I've, created a network of. And, but I would totally be open to working with some new builders, putting together models. Again, like who wouldn't want to design a model home and fill it with furniture and fill it with, tchotchke and canvases and all kinds of cool stuff, and have them show that off as what a home could look like if you were going to build it. I just haven't gotten into that market, but you're giving me ideas. I appreciate that.
I would die to be able to be like, okay, we're going to build my house exactly where I want it and exactly how I want it, and it's going to be filled with all these pretty things. Like, that's like designers' like dream come true.
Right. And the reason I think about it is because I bring clients through on these new neighborhoods or new subdivisions that they're making, and every house is, one of 3 or 4 models, and they have the same pretty much paint color. They may change countertops or tile or flooring, but it's all kind of the same. And you walk in and you're trying to get these buyers who, from any stage that they're in, maybe this is their first purchase and they've rented a small little 800-foot apartment forever. And they're like, how do I fill this whole space?
Wait a minute. You're saying an 800-foot apartment is small? My house is smaller than that. You're making me feel bad.
I'm sorry. 500 feet.
Well,
and I've had a couple that go in and they are pretty much they've got 2 kids on the way, but they don't have them yet. They're living in an apartment, and they're like, this is so much space.
Right.
And I'm like, well, when you think about it, with all the stuff you're going to have, it seems huge, and that you're not going to be able to fill it, but you will.
Until you have all the kids' toys.
I know. Speaking from experience, kids'
Yes.
toys take up half of your house.
Yes, they do.
Unfortunately. And I was thinking it would be nice to be able to have somebody come in and actually put furniture in. It doesn't need to be fully furnished like your flips where you're trying to stage, but give people a reference point of like a sofa and your canvas, which is your TV and your bed. I just thought, I mean, if you're going into vacants, I walk into new builds all the time and they're always vacant. So.
Yeah, I think that leaves a lot of room for confusion and not knowing where to put things, and just defining a space of this is family space, this is office space, this is dining space. Even maybe even defining children's spaces versus adult spaces.
Sure.
So, yeah.
I don't even know how you'd crack into those big builders. I feel like there'd be a lot of red tape with that one. But I don't know.
I mean, I don't know why they would be any different than any other investor who may need, the property staged. But, yeah, it just hasn't come up yet.
Yeah.
It's a new year, though, Marcus.
I know,
Yeah.
2021.
I know.
Big things happening.
So I have one final question for you. And it's kind of
Sure.
it's not a personal question, but it's on your personal side, I guess. Do you have any personal DIY projects that you have cracked into over time that you would say is like one of your favorite projects that you've done?
Wow. Let's see. Personal projects that I've done. I own a workshop in Sturtevant down here where it's an art workshop, but I also work on staging projects, and I take, maybe an old hut and strip it down and remodel it, repaint it and add new hardware. And I have to tell you, I really have a little obsession with uncovering brass.
Oh, boy.
Like brass. The brass hardware for things, the little knobs and the corner trim on some older pieces. And for some reason, just finding the brass underneath of all the years of dirt and stuff is really fun.
You're like
but
Allison
furniture,
of Windy City Rehab.
What's that?
You're like Allison of Windy City Rehab.
But yeah, and then I like to think that those pieces, then they get a new lease on life. And so I try to stage them in houses as much as I can so that, they get to be happy furniture again. Somebody's seen them. And
I love it.
The furniture rehab.
Somebody's seen them. I mean, yeah, anybody can go to Steinhoffel's and buy a hut and put it in a house, but I do like to see things just get another chance to be beautiful. So that means a lot to me.
Oh, cool.
This may be an ignorant question. Is brass the metal that greens when it's
That's
weatherized?
copper.
It's
Yeah.
copper.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I mean, brass
That's right.
patinas, and it usually ends up looking kind of brown and
Dull.
brown and dull and kind of sticky even from years of just
Oils on
being
your
exposed
fingers.
to oxygen. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, question for you. How can our viewers get a hold of you best? What's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
The best The best way to get a hold of me is to give me a phone call at 262-297-9242.
Good job.
Otherwise, if they want to check out what I'm up to, Facebook is the best place to view that. I do have a website, but I don't update it anywhere near as often as I post the latest house I'm staging. I do all my own photography in 360 photography and stuff of houses, which is super interactive.
Cool.
So the Facebook page for Looking Forward Home Staging and Interior Design is the best way to see what I'm up to lately. You can walk through the houses and see all the pictures and stuff, so that's fun.
And then do you have an email address that people could get a hold of you on?
An email address?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see. It would be Penny, Penny, at IamLookingForward.com.
Okay, cool.
Well, awesome. And hopefully our audience members who are listening, if you are an investor and you're like me, where you are terrible at interior design and color scheme and furniture, you've got one leg of your I always say bench or something in your tool belt that you can use. Call Penny, and you're going to solve that issue that many investors have about the finishing work on that one. So thank you for spending time with us here.
And I really want to have you come back on so we can teach Marcus and all of our other listeners how to utilize color the best way possible.
Well, I'm thinking
Wait.
next show is after Penny stages our house.
Oh.
She can talk about the color she picked and the rooms and why she did what she did.
I like that.
That would be fantastic.
We'll have photos
That would
that
be
you can do
fantastic.
before and after.
Oh,
It's just going to round out the whole thing.
Yes, that's.
Are you up for that, Penny?
I'm totally up for that. Let's do it.
Yay,
Awesome.
I'm connecting people.
Awesome.
Do I get
Well,
I need 2 days, Marcus. Remember, I need 2 days. One for the big stuff, one for finishing touches.
I will give you 3 days.
Oh.
Awesome. Better yet.
Well, thank
love
you
it.
so much for coming on, spending the hour with us, telling us about what you do. I'm glad that I found somebody that can help me with something that I was kind of panicking about.
That's what I'm here for.
So that's perfect. Win-win for everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, Penny.
Thanks for having me. I had a great
I'll
time.
talk to you soon.
Enjoy your weekend.
Thanks. You too. Bye.
Bye.